All right, let's welcome back Coach Rustman. His second time being here, but he's somewhere else now. He's the offensive line coach at Michigan Tech University. Coach, welcome back. We just talked for 15 minutes, which was a whole nice little podcast in itself, but welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
You're big time, so I have to bring you on. You're big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, last time you were at Concordia up here, you were there for a little bit. So now you moved on. So what kind of caused the big move? That's moving up to Michigan.
Yeah, so I was got to Concordia in 2019, and I was there through the COVID times. Then spent 2021 there that fall season. I got promoted actually there, so I was the offensive coordinator, O-line coach in 2021, and then the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach at Michigan Tech. Dan Metlack was actually my quarterback coach in college at Northern Michigan University. Their O-line coach left, who's actually a head coach at Bigfoot High School now in Lake Geneva area. Who I actually played with at Northern, so it's kind of a small world up here. But he called me in December, somewhere around December time, and asked if I'd be interested in coming up here because we're in Houghton, Michigan. Michigan Tech's a high academic engineering school. We play in the GLIAC, Division II football. It's a small town, college town. You kind of got to know the UP a little bit. And he would prefer bringing in people that he knows. And that's kind of how it started, right? And, went through the whole interview process, all that kind of stuff. And, now I'm here. So actually, our defensive coordinator, Brian Thomas, I played against at Grand Valley. He was at Grand Valley State. Our running backs coach, Phil Milbrath, played here. I played against him. Got coached by Coach Metlack, who's on staff here. So it's kind of a small world. Played or know everybody here.
It is. I figured that out, like doing the podcast stuff, even because now I've met way more people. It's amazing how you might know somebody that knows that person. Like,
yeah,
for example, Coach D. And when we talked last time, I was like, oh, Coach D? And he goes, oh, yeah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When I got to Glenbard East, he had coached Walters. He coached at Charleston High School in the 90s. And that's where I coached high school in 2010 or so. And he was like, is so-and-so still down there? And that was the connection. So it was like his connection. So when I talked to him, he goes, oh, yeah, come on board. Like, I understand your struggles at Charleston. Come on board. Like, I'll pat you on the back. You'll be okay. Because he right. You know how tough it is. But yeah, it's crazy how like you play against somebody or coach against somebody, and then eventually it just all circles back.
Right. Yeah, it's even crazy. We're playing St. Thomas week 2. And when I was at Concordia, Charles Watkins is now the running back coach there.
Yep.
And then Jeff Duvendeck, who's my offensive line OC at Northern Michigan, is the O-line coach at St. Thomas. We're playing them. Dan and Jeff worked together when I played, and it's just, it's kind of a crazy small world. So, it's a brotherhood, obviously, the coaching profession. So.
Yeah. So you made the jump from Division 3 to Division 2, right?
Yeah.
So probably no huge difference, right? Maybe a little bit, but football's football. But like, has anything else changed moving up to Division 2?
Yeah, I mean, the recruiting's different. The amount of things we can do football wise up front is different. At Concordia, the retention wasn't the best. Here, I'm going to have two sixth-year seniors, and then 2 fourth-year sophomores. So it's like just a little different, just because the guys are more mature. They're, like our center's a first-team AFCA All-American. He can clean 365. So it's like just a little different, but the scheme, all that kind of stuff. Now we'll say I can do a little bit more intricate stuff with our guys. So that's a big difference. I can coach the individual a lot more here than I could at Concordia, where, I was really coaching a lot of first year, second year, third year guys, because you don't really redshirt at D3. So, by their fourth year, they're hopefully at the top of their game, where Division 2, especially with COVID, like some of these guys are gonna be back for 6 years and they're gonna get their masters, and they're 22 or 23 years old. So it's just a slightly different in that kind of aspect.
Yeah. And then the last time we talked, I think I didn't joke with you, but I was like, oh my gosh, you're wearing so many hats. You were like the O-line coach, the OC, and the strength guy. And I'm like, you are wearing 3 hats at college football. So does it feel better to just be one thing of like, I can just do O-line?
It is. It's actually kind of tough because I'm used to doing so much because I was a high school coach, high school head coach, and then D3 I was assistant head coach. So like I wore a lot of hats, and that's kind of like running guns, kind of like just keep going, going, going. Here, I have like a lot of downtime where I can really refine the playbook stuff. I can be intricate with, again, like we did doing some summer film stuff. There's just different ways I got to figure out how to keep my time beneficial and all that kind of stuff. And then the recruiting piece, in D3, at least where I was, we didn't really go out in the summers and recruit. So this year we had a big spring push. So in May, I was all at Illinois and Wisconsin schools that recruit Illinois and Wisconsin. And then June, we're at a lot of camps. So, those first 2 weeks of June, I'm away from home, and that's where it's a little different too.
Yeah. I just, had a coach on the other day. He was a Division III coach. Now he's a head high school coach. And we were talking about how much busy a high school coach is and how busy a college coach is. And he made a comment. He was like, there's high school coaches that don't understand what college coaches go through, and vice versa. Like you just said, you're recruiting all summer. Like, even though it's not as busy, you're still recruiting. Like, high school, I said I was busy before we started, but I'm busy coaching. Like, I'm just out in the field doing whatever.
Right.
You're recruiting, you're sending messages, you're calling, you're driving, you're doing this. So we were talking about, we were like, sometimes there's a disconnect between like what high school coaches think they know what college coaches do, and then what college coaches who maybe didn't coach high school ball, they just went straight to college, they don't understand what a high school coach does, but both. Like, you're sitting there going, I already know. Like, I already know. So it's sad that there is a small disconnect between some of that sometimes.
Yeah. And you know what the crazy thing is too, like, Illinois is so much different than Wisconsin and Michigan, because Illinois has those 25 practices where Wisconsin only gets 5 contact days in the summer. Michigan doesn't get any. So it's just weird as far as practice goes, right? So like padded practice and stuff like that. So it's different talking to each high school coach, because I usually build a rapport, relationship with them, talking about like, hey, the summer stuff, blah, how's summer going? This is how things went when I was coaching. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And some of the Wisconsin guys are like, "What? You guys get to practice in the summer?" So it's just it's unique that way for sure. And then like you can definitely tell some of the older generation coaches who haven't really done both or been kind of doing one thing the whole time, or like they don't really understand the grind of a high school coach these days. Where you're doing the workouts at 7 to 8, and then you practice in 8 to 10 or whatever. It's just, and you're doing that for all of June or July, whichever one it is. And but yeah, it's definitely, I understand both.
Well, then I was gonna say, like, that probably helps you, like you just kind of said, it helps you in recruiting a little bit, because when you're talking to the high school coach or the high school kid, you could say, well, when I coached in high school, we did this, or I understand what you're going through, and you kind of get it. So it probably gives you a little bit of advantage, a little bit with recruiting a little bit.
Yeah, it's just easier conversation starter, and kind of know, like for some of those 7-on-7s in Illinois, I know like who's playing who, and I can talk trash a little bit about each team, and just to make a little fun with recruiting. So,
and then what was I going to say? But anyway, yeah. So we were talking about that because he did the opposite of you. He went straight into Division III, and then he was just kind of like, I kind of want to coach high school. So he went to a school in Arizona, did that for a year. Now he's a head coach in Missouri. And Coach Guglielmo, I don't know if you know who that is or not, but he's on Twitter. And so he just has the opposite. Like, I had asked him, well, what's your recruiting like? Does that help you out in high school? He goes, oh yeah, I walked through the hallway. I know exactly how to talk to him.
Yeah.
In the hallway, he goes, I know exactly how to talk to him from being in college. And he was like, because some high school coaches complain that like college coaches don't answer their messages. And he goes, what college coaches go through on a daily basis? They're not going to always check their messages. They're always not going to do this. Or if they see it and it's not about a recruit, they're going to ignore it because they're so busy. Right. So as I was saying, like, that's why I appreciate you being on here, because I know how busy college coaches are actually and what you guys do.
Well, we are busy and we're not busy at the same time. It's like we have recruits coming up on campus, and it's just a timing thing. So you just gotta have good management of time. And honestly, being a high school coach, like, that helped me a lot, because like I get my work done quick because you only have that hour during the day or
Mhm.
45 minutes during the day to get your work done, so I will always say, and hopefully if I ever get to the Division I level, maybe I can have you an argument there, but being a high school teacher and a high school head football coach is the hardest thing I've ever done as far as my time, being a good father, trying to be a good father, trying to be a good husband, and be a good coach and being a good teacher. And then you only have that hour in between there to, get your game plan, get your schedule, get whatever you need to do. Especially as a head coach, you kind of just got to be go, 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 go. So, but it's also fun at the same time.
Yeah. I think we talked last time. My head coach took the job January of 2020, and then COVID hit. So he got his first head coach experience during COVID.
Yeah.
And he's still, I think, I joke with him all the time. He's still mentally recovering from it because his mind is
Right.
is all over the place because he's the defensive coordinator too. So his mind is just
going
all the time.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes he'll say, Steve, remember we talked about this? I'm like, you didn't have a conversation with me about this. I didn't. I'm like, you had that with yourself. Like you're just kind of, and I make fun of him. He's fine with it. I make fun of it all the time. But yeah, like that's all. It makes me not want to be a head coach sometimes. The more it goes on because of COVID, everybody's still recovering from, unless you're a powerhouse program,
Right.
everybody is still recovering from at least high school of like numbers.
For sure.
Because some of the Illinois schools, those powerhouses, they didn't miss a beat. They're going to have their dudes. But like where you coached at, where I'm coaching at, those type of schools, they're trying to recover. They're trying to
look at like Lake Park. Could be a good school, and they just with the head coach change and all that stuff, just that program kind of just got hit a little bit. But it seems like the new guy coming in's decent.
Yeah, good things. Guy I coached with played college ball with him and coached with him, so like nice. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also have noticed there, because we talked about right before this, there are a lack of coaches. Like it worries me a little bit because I always thought there was a lack of O-line coaches because when I moved up to the suburbs in 2018, one of the niches was, well, what have you coached? And one of it was O-line. They go, oh, like that was my way in to Walters at Glenbard East, coach at East Aurora. Like I need an O-line coach. And then even with at Addison, he was like, I want a true O-line guy that understand, be the run game coordinator. That was my niche to get in. I've coached defensive line, I've coached quarterbacks, but like that was my niche. So at first I was like, there's no O-line coaches.
Yeah.
They said, well, it's one of the toughest things to do because you have to focus on all five. And then after this year, I'm like, well, now there's just no coaches. Because like I said, we lost 4 or 5 and we couldn't find to save our life a coach, whether it was they don't want to be paid, which I understood, or they just don't want to do it.
Well, if you can't get them a job in school or, they're not like in the school system, it's tough. And then you just see so many like teachers not wanting to coach these days, which is kind of crazy, but
it is, or they might only do one and that's fine. If they do one, great. But there's some of us in there that do, like I do it. I did all 3, but I did all 3 in different high schools last year. That was tough.
That's gonna be crazy.
No. I worked at Addison, coached football at Addison. Then I coached basketball at Nequa because I live there. I live over here. And then I did baseball at York. Like it was just, you want to talk about 3 way different schools from each other. But I did it. And then I thought about it and I was like, I'm driving all over the place. And there's some people, like you said, that just don't coach in the building they work in either.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, I'm doing 3 at different high schools. Like, it's not that.
One thing too is like some of the head coaches kind of drive guys away too. Like, I don't want to keep going like old school, new school mentality, but there's definitely a culture shift of how things used to be and then how things are going now. And that's where, like, if you're older coach trying to get a job and you have that old school mentality, like it's gonna be tough for you to find a staff because of how you coach and interact with others, and it's just a different way of going about things now. So
because there's some that have made that decision of how can I incorporate the old schoolness with the new schoolness.
Right.
That was one thing I will brag about this till the day I die was Coach Walters, because when he brought me on at Lombard East, he told me that. He was like, I am old school. He goes, but I've realized trying to rebuild this program, I can't do that. He goes, I can have snippets of it. He goes, but I have to be old school or new school. And I said, well, how are you doing that? He goes, I started off with, we'll play music at practice if they earn it. He goes, Steve, I never thought in my life would I play music at practice. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, I don't blow my lid on everything. He goes, you know, I coach a certain way. I give incentives for things. Now you'll be amazed. I've talked to some coaches about the incentives, and like I want to bring it back up because I just talked to him yesterday. Was the coach Guglielmo? He just got the head job, and he goes, "I have incentives for things." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Because he's rebuilding this culture, or he's adding his culture. I like that better. Saying you're adding your culture, not rebuilding you're adding yours. He goes, "The kids just messaged me about getting socks." He goes, "Can we get these type of socks?" And he goes, "All right, I'll figure out if we can buy them, but your weight room attendance has to be like 98%. And then you earn those." Or like the linemen, they'll earn a t-shirt if they get 2 pancakes in a game or something, like they get this t-shirt. And he goes, there's old school parents that say, my kid doesn't need an incentive. Like, but you should just be able to show up and do it. And he goes, no, like that's not what they do anymore. Like, maybe when we all played, it kind of was like that. Like, we'll show up, but now you have to have incentives. And this is just an example of the new school, but like you said, but like, we have to adapt and we have to move with the times, and X's and O's, people have to move with the times. You have to do things like we're doing that. Like, to keep kids out, we're gonna have to figure out how to get them the football because they want the football.
Well, there's so many options for kids nowadays to do things, whether they're physical activity or they're esports or whatever it is, you know. There has to be an enticement to play a physical game of football. Obviously we played it and we love it, we know the benefits, but like, how do we explore that and get that to the kids that have never done that before? So there's got to be you know, a melting pot of both. So
well, especially because COVID made them realize, oh, I can do this or I can do this. And like a lot of high schools like ours have that EA sports club. I never seen that before. And first of all, I'm jealous. You walk by and I go, that's a podcast setup I want. You see these fancy stuff. And I'm like, I want that. But they did. They're like, I can be on my phone. I can play video games. Maybe I want to play baseball instead. And that's all they want to specialize in, which I hate. I hate how kids are like, I'm just going to be a baseball kid. And
for sure,
I hate that so much, but because I coach baseball too, but like the kids at York, even when they're playing baseball, they play other sports. And
the kid's not going to play sport anymore. At least this is how I feel. They're not going to play sport just to play sport anymore. They're going to play sport if they're going to play multiple sports because of the coaches that they interact with and the practice and the friends, and all. It has to be a positive experience.
Right. Because like I talked about basketball, I became the head freshman coach at this high school. Never been a freshman basketball coach. I've always been higher up, but like all summer, I told them during basketball camp at the end, I gave my spiel at the end. You talked to them for 5 minutes. But at the end, I said, guys, this is the time to play other sports. And I said, I'm biased. Come play football. I'm very biased. I said, but you want to play volleyball, you want to do track, you want to do baseball, and you've never done it before, talk to me. I know the coaches. I will point you in the right direction. If you don't play football, I will not hold it against you, but like, let's do this. And then there were some kids that are like, I only do basketball. And I'm like, no, we got to change that. Like you got to do something else. And so I think some coaches ruin some sports because they say, just do this.
For sure.
Just do this. And I'm like, no, yes, I want you to play football, but in the winter, I want you to see you doing wrestling or basketball. And then in the winter, in the spring, I want to see you doing this.
For sure.
But then also coaches in the building, high school wise, they have to be on the same page too. Like weight room is huge. And there's some coaches that are against the weight room for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Never.
It's crazy. In 2022, you still get that. It's like muscle slows you down or something.
Or the weight makes your shot. Like, I told our head basketball coach, he knows it too. He's like, no, they got to have the varsity coach there wants them to lift, but like they don't have a strength coach. It was always hard for him to be like doing all of that. And then unfortunately, Coach D was that guy. And then he was the guy. But I never understood that either. I was at a high school once, and the baseball coach said he doesn't want them to lift because it would ruin their swing or something. And he was a Cardinal fan, and I said, "You mean to tell me the St. Louis Cardinals don't lift?" It was like he thought it was dumb for them to lift, like dumb. And I'm like,
Man, just look at the transformation of any baseball player from when they get in the league to when they're done.
or like, you want them to hit the ball harder and farther? Maybe they should
Yeah.
lift. Or you want to have strong joints so they can quickly get up and throw the ball as quickly as possible. Maybe they should lift. I don't.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thought. Because like when you're recruiting, this is a big deal now. When you're recruiting, you look at guys and be like, oh, they're a multi-sport athlete. We got to look at that kid. Like, that's the thing I don't understand is these kids, they got to realize they'll get recruited if they play more than one sport.
Yeah. I mean, that's like one of the first questions I asked. Like, what do you do? Do you play spring sport? Do you play a winter sport? Whatever. One, it's a conversation driver. And then two, it's just a confirmation of like, this kid's an athlete, right? So they can do multiple things. They're not just a stiff board, which usually you find like at the O-line position, if they play one sport, they're usually those guys who can't bend well. They're strong, right? But they can move people, but they can't move side to side. They don't have that fluidity, and they, are stiff. So
right. Yeah, because I've had a lot of conversations this summer trying to do podcasts, but I'm just sending messages. And one guy was like, if they wrestle, you obviously know what they're going to get out of wrestling. But if an old lineman play basketball, they're going to have better feet because they're running, they're moving. If they throw shot put or disc and track, they're going to have quick feet because of the rotation of what they're doing and all that stuff. He goes, and that's why we like recruiting anybody that does that. But they were talking about O-line specifically and D-line. They were like, they're going to have quick hands, they're going to have quick feet, hand-eye coordination, hopefully. Like I play basketball too, and I was an O-lineman. So hopefully we get hand-eye coordination. But, he's like, that's what we look at. And when it's a one-sport athlete, we kind of hesitate a little bit, unless they're just that good. If they're that good, we'll try.
Right.
And I try to tell the kids all the time, if baseball is your sport and you're getting recruited for baseball, hopefully they're asking you, do you play more than one sport? I hope. I don't know how baseball recruiting works, but I'm like, I hope that's what they ask you.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's crazy. I'm recruiting a kid right now from Wisconsin that he's looking to play both sports in college. Like he's that good, so that's just a plus. Like a kid's an all-conference basketball player, all-conference football player. He's a good athlete, right? We don't know exactly where he's going to be on the football field because he plays quarterback and linebacker, but he's the best athlete on the field because, well, he's probably good at basketball because he's the best athlete, but he wants to do that. He wants to be good. He wants to be competitive, and who knows what he's going to play, but, just for recruiting purposes, like I want to get that kid because he's a competitor.
Right. Like they don't get it. It's that you learn time management from doing multiple sports. You learn discipline. I heard somebody say this and I thought it was great. Like, let's say you're a starter in football, but you're the seventh man in basketball. You learn how to be a teammate because you were supporting the starting five. Like there's things you can learn in that. And then grades hopefully go along with that because you're time management. And that's why coaches, I think, learn time management. Like you said, like if you're a teacher in a high school and you're the head coach, you have a planning period to get something done and that's it.
Yeah.
So you better be pretty good at time management. And then if you have a family at home, you don't want to bring it home at 7:30 at night. Like you have to walk in. Your wife will shoot you. Like she'll literally like hit you with a frying pan if you're coming in with all that. Like, oh, you have to watch film? No, you don't. Okay, you're right. Like you don't want to do that.
Right.
So there's just benefits. So I always tell those kids like do multiple sports. And if there's one over the other, cool. But like don't we had guys quitting now, not doing one sport. And I'm like, you will regret this decision.
Yeah.
At some point.
Well, the other part too is like from a productive aspect, like when you look in the future for guys we're recruiting, if they've been playing multiple sports their whole career, when they get to college and they spend that first year as a freshman just eating for the first time the right way and just lifting and playing football, we play fall and spring, just the amount of growth that you're going to see. Like a kid who just plays one sport has been in that, off season mentality his whole career. So he's kind of peaking, throughout, but the athlete who plays multiple sports is just always going. He doesn't have that peak and that like change of growth in that, freshman year of eating and getting an off season program, and all that stuff. So that's something for us. Like, yeah, this kid's like, he's really good now, but like wait until he gets in a program with
Mhm.
a certified coach, with, a guy who has a master's, and this is the only thing he does. And then, getting into that, everybody you eat in the cafe at your freshman dorm, you're going to get big no matter what you do. So,
Yes, sir. That happened to me. Walked down at EIU and I had to gain more weight. And you walk in, like, you eat 3 trays of food. And then when I decided to stop playing, it was, well, I'm used to eating 3 trays of food. So you're like, give me all that. I'm going to keep eating.
yeah.
And kids never lose your metabolism. It sucks. It's
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a metabolism. I've always been a pretty big guy. So,
I would lose weight during basketball because you do all the running.
mm-hmm.
But then the rest of the sports was like, okay, now I'm back to I think I had good metabolism for basketball because of the running.
Yeah.
Football, it was, well, you're hitting now. You're not running, you're hitting people, And
Yeah.
so I think metabolism was like, oh, you're going to be shot. And then you get to college and do things you're not supposed to, and it just goes downhill.
Yeah.
And then here we are. And that's why some of my players think I'm 40 years old and I'm 31. They honestly do. I said, how old do you think I am? And the new guys, my one returning O lineman knew the answer. He's a junior.
Yeah.
And I asked the new guys, and he stood behind me and he was like, don't say it. Don't say it. And some kid was like, oh, you got to be your late 30s, early 40s. And he's like, oh, they said the wrong thing, didn't they, coach? I was like, yes, they did. I said, I'm 31. And they go, you're 31? I was like, I'm not aging well, guys. I get it. But I said, it's just these white hairs that are popping up all over the place.
Yeah, it's from them.
I name them. I'm like, hey, this right here, I'm naming you because you caused it. But yeah, sorry, I went on my tangent of multiple sports because it's just that's what we're dealing with over here.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got to turn around a little bit. 32 freshmen's pretty good. I'm going to take that.
It's real good.
They're hungry.
Your school's only got like 1,200 or 1,300 or something like that.
Oh no, it's like 2,000.
Oh, it is, okay.
So
still that's pretty good though. There's probably 500 athletes in the school or so, something like that, 400.
Well, I wish it was 1,200 because like through the program, I think it's 60 or 70. So it's not where we want. So it's not where we want it. But like I said, COVID really hurt because that October of 2020, me and Coach D walked out there, and he might know better than I do, but I swear there was like 25 linemen or 30 linemen or something. And I remember we looked at each other. We had just met throughout the summer, and we were like, this will work because we can have just a D line and just an O line. Like with this many, we can figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back in that spring and it like got cut in half. And we were like, oh, okay. And then going into 2021, we retained some of them, but then it quickly realized we have to play them both ways. And playing in certain conferences up here, that doesn't always work. Like
right,
go up against Lyons Township or Lombard West, like it's just not going to work.
Right.
And then this year it's even gone the other way because kids want to go be wide receivers. They want the football. And I've had to convert guys to linemen, and then they don't want to do it. And, I have to have the conversation with them, hey, okay, you want to be this position, but guess what? I can tell you right now, you are not going to play that position.
Yes.
So do you want to play? And they'll say yes. And I'll say, okay, you play guard, you will play every snap. Oh, I don't want to be a lineman. I don't like hitting or being in the box. Okay. So then when I want my water with 4 ice cubes on the sideline, you can get it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking why you're not playing. I'm going to say, remember that conversation we had in July?
For sure.
Like I've already had those conversations with 3 kids. Like it's already happening. And so don't worry, we have plenty of skill guys. Freshman group's just full of them. But that's why going back to the new school, I'm not making fun of this is not my wing tee making fun of segment, even though I would never run the wing tee. But there's kids that want the football, but they don't want to be a running back that's getting it handed to them. They have to run down.
Yeah.
They want to try to get in space. And so we've had to make tweaks of how do we do that besides just throwing it, because it's not always going to work. Like, I had to research option stuff out of spread and doing this. I'm giving little snippets away about what we might do, but like that's motions and this and that. And why did we have to do that? Because we have to kind of cater to, okay, we have some skill guys. How do we get them the football? How do we keep them interested in playing football? So with the kids in the slot, hey, maybe we have to run jet and toss it to them. Maybe we have to do an option and pitch it. We don't know. We were banging our heads against the wall. I've had to research wide zone all off season. I had to research this and this, and like I'm losing my hair over it. And I'm trying to do 3 sports, and yeah, it's been tough. So I had to go back to my option routes and do this. And people make fun of me because I make fun of people that do Bauer eye stuff. And I'm like, we're not there yet.
You're coming close.
We're getting closer. Like football's going to be back full circle. It's just a full circle because like you are West Chicago, you guys ran spread and stuff. Well, now guys are going back to, hey, maybe if we do 2 tight ends, what if we do wing back and orbit motion? What if we do buck sweep? What if we do this? And
well, they don't have the linemen, so that's why they do it. Down, pull around, veer stuff. It makes sense for sure. And it takes a lot of work to put the spread stuff in now if you don't really want to coach the line, right? Like if you don't have linemen or a line coach, it just makes sense. Go down, trap the first guy you see, and then we're going to read the other guys.
Yeah, because if I've ever coached O-line, I've always been by myself besides one time. And it was when I was at Lombard East. I wasn't the main O-line guy. I was the assistant too. And he's a great O-line coach, and I was helping him out. And we both realized we were like, having 2 O-line coaches is the best.
Oh, it's a game changer.
And that was the first time. And ever since then, I really haven't. I've done it by myself. Like the past 3 years at Addison, I've been doing it by myself. And this has been the first year where I'm like, I wish at the varsity level I had 2.
Yeah.
I wish I had another set of eyes, because installing something new, changing some blocking rules to make it easier. Like I wish, because now I got to make sure, because I want all the individual time in the world, because you give me 15 minutes and I feel like because I'm by myself, I have to make sure everything is right. Well, then I don't get to everything.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Sucks.
Like, do you have someone else helping you up there? Because it's just.
No, we have a student assistant that does some stuff, but he's 20-year-old guy who used to play football that wants to coach. So it's not the same, but again, I'm used to doing it on my own. So it's, I've got a system, and, this is how it goes, and just make sure it's organized. That's really the biggest thing. And not being afraid to argue with your OC for more individual time, or if there's too much and you want to work on team stuff, like be able to voice your opinion and all that stuff is important now. So.
Yeah, but for us, if we have to do defense that day too, so I lose the argument. Like, you know how it is. Like, if you have to do offense and defense that day, or it's like, do I lose time because of this?
Right.
Because that's the beauty of college. You can just do offense all day, so you can figure it out. Me, it's like, hey, the emphasis today is defense. You'll get 15 minutes of offense individual, but the rest is defense. And then the next day.
Now, let me ask you that question, because that's an interesting question, probably another podcast. But you guys do an offense day and a defense day because you want your best players playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why not teach the bad kids, have your best kids who can play offense, your best kids who play defense, instead of intertwining that? Why don't you do try to 2 squad as much as you can?
That's what we try to do in 2021, believe it or not. Like we really tried. So I don't know if this will answer. We tried to do where, let's say, okay, Tuesday is a varsity offensive day. So the varsity offense that we think we're going to play are going to do offense. The kids that play defense are going to go do defense. If that makes sense. So that way we had tried to have just defensive coaches and just offensive coaches, and then we bring it together. But then we had that conversation, like, why? Because I would complain, obviously, about I want the best O lineman on there.
Right.
Then that question did become, but he might be better suited at a defensive position. So why don't we just find somebody to stick in there? So and we would try that. And then when that kid got killed and he's getting driven back in the backfield,
right.
Then what it would become is, why is he getting driven in the backfield? And I'm like, well, you see, he's just not supposed to. But
right.
We try very hard, and we try it with the O-line, D-line. We try our very
Mm,
best, at least in that position, to not have them start both ways in this,
yeah.
in up here in the suburbs. Where I come from, you played both ways. That's just what it was.
Right. Right.
Because every school did that. Up here, we try our very best. Now, if a skill position guy has to go both ways, we were like, you're just gonna have to suck it up because you're supposed to be an
Yeah.
athlete. But you are correct. We tried that in 2021. We're coming in here now, trying it again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like, do you guys try to hide? It sounds bad, quote unquote, right? Hide players, but like, you could hide certain players in certain spots just to fill a need in there, because
yeah,
it's always kind of a question like what's important. You know, playing your best players that are tired, are they still at the same level as some of a fresh guy, right? And honestly, I think Fair State kind of makes that claim a little bit, but they obviously have some of the best athletes in the nation.
right.
They play 10 offensive linemen throughout a game. They'll switch them in series. They'll switch them. And, Sam Parker's the line coach will tell you, they don't care if because, if there's a drop off in any second group that you're going to have, but it's better to have 50% reps, or sorry, let's say he takes 80, there's 80 snaps in the game and one guy takes 40, the other guy takes 40. It's better to have that at 100% than one guy taking 80 reps at 80%, right?
Right.
So that's kind of like, I always go back and forth in my head about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've thought about that. Like, if this kid is good on both, but he might be a little bit better on defense, maybe he should play defense and we hide if he's a slot receiver. Well, we'll put somebody out there and we just kind of hide it. Like, we've had that conversation.
Yep.
I've had the conversation in my head and with them, like, do we switch linemen? Like, maybe this kid's a pulling guy. So when
Yeah.
we're on certain plays, we switch him. So like when he's over here, we can pull him or this or that. But then I'm the guy because I'm stupid simple. I'm so stupid simple. I panic. I panic in the fact that I don't want to make it harder on them.
Yeah.
And coming into this year, I'm like overcompensating because I've gone back and changed inside zone blocking rules. Like, I won't say what we're doing this year because I don't want to give everything away. But like last year, I did traditional, like uncovered. If he's head up to the gap that we're running to, you're covered. If he's a backside shade or a backside gap, you're not covered because that's not where we're going.
Right.
We're going this way, unless you're so uncovered and the other guy asks for help. Like, hey, I need help. Let's double team.
Right.
I had to change that. You think that's simple enough. And I was getting kids down blocking so hard that it opened up this gap. I was, freshmen were getting confused on who they were blocking. So I had to come in and this year and just say, how do I make it simple? And then I panic because I want it to be simple. I don't want them to think. And,
Yeah.
I don't butt heads with our OC. He's a great guy. But I'll come in with certain ideas. He has certain ideas. And then I'm also the type of person that's like, once we have our discussion, I kind of lean towards what he'll want to do as long as I get something out of it.
Right.
We don't argue. We don't yell at each other, but like he has his thoughts. I have my thoughts and we move on. When it comes to O-line, I kind of get my way because he's never coached it. So he kind of lets it go.
Right.
As long as it fits. But then like wide zone, I have to use those blocking rules because we don't want, you don't want him coming back down. You want him to go that way. And so I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing? But believe it or not, telling them that it's wide and we're going a little bit wider and that's why the rules are this for the install purposes, at least they understood it. They were like, okay. Yeah. But that's me. Like, I've been so complicated in the past. And then when it doesn't work, I could sit here and tell you it's the kids or it's this. Yeah. That's the easy way out.
For sure.
But I will sit here and tell you it's my fault. And that's why I sit there and I go, what can I do to make it easy on varsity? But it's also my job to make sure it's easy for the freshmen. Because when it's the run game, they'll look at me and say, well, what's the blocking rules? Like, what do you want us to do? So it's not me. So I'm like, well, I have to make it simple. So that's my long-winded answer for some of this, but it's just like, because you're rebuilding a program, you're trying to put in culture. And so I'm trying to, if I can make it easy and then they pick it up and then they get to varsity, maybe then I could start, tweaking it and doing what I want, like doing all that. But those are good points and we've talked about it. Like, how do we hide kids? How do we get the best that we can? But then also like not, tire these kids out and And then, and trust me, it was on me because there was times where I might have put too much focus on the varsity players and not the sophomores,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because with individual time, you're worried about them getting what they need. But this,
Exactly.
but this year I put my foot down and saying like, you're all going to get reps. I really don't care. You will get reps.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
huge.
it is you. And like individual time, you will get reps. I promise you. Like I told the head coach, I'm admitting my faults right now. I screwed up last year. I didn't do a good enough job making sure this was done and this is done. I'm changing it. And I mean, he respected me for it. He was like, people don't come in here and say they made mistakes. I'm like, I do. I will tell you right where I make a mistake
Mm-hmm.
because part of my job is getting better. So I talk to coaches, I go to clinics to figure it out and say, I did wrong and I'm going to fix it. So
Yep.
that's all I can do. And I mean, maybe that's why I get jobs. I don't know because I tell them where I screw up. But then another one of my faults, I take too much blame. I sit there and go, it's all my fault. Like if we get sacked, initially I'm like, that's my fault. Then I watch the film, I go, oh, the quarterback ran to the right when it was a pocket. That's why we got sacked, like it's not my fault.
Yeah.
But you are right in that. But yeah. See, now you got me. Now it's your podcast. You're asking me the
Yeah.
question.
Well, hey.
Now it's yours. Something else I was going to ask you, the strength and conditioning, which is kind of your background. Are you seeing it pop up more in high schools the more you're looking around, like how much bigger it's getting?
Oh yeah. I mean, geez, some of these weight rooms you see, some of these schools I go into, you see the weight rooms, it's like, holy cow. They rival some like D1, weight rooms. It's when I was recruiting Michigan, Granville, their weight rooms, like one of the best weight rooms in the nation. You go down to some Wisconsin schools, same deal, and Illinois, same deal. So it's definitely becoming a bigger thing. And if you're a school who hasn't renovated that space yet, you're going to be behind. That's just the bottom line. In all athletics, right? It's not just football; it's all athletics. So, and then the piece, where West Chicago, we talked about it a little bit, is might have a hand up is getting a strength and conditioning coordinator. Just a dude who does that, not just a coach who has that class. That's one of the biggest things you find is the football coach usually coaches the strength and conditioning. It's some program they find online that they've been doing for 30 years. It's not the way it's not the way it is anymore. So,
well, like it's forever changing. Like Coach Banster, who has his podcast and stuff, he was talking to me about it. He goes, he's bought into the feed the cat stuff from Tony Holler.
Yeah.
And he goes, Steve, like he's the head coach now. So he's like, that has just made us so much faster. I get it. And he goes, and it's forever. Like, I'm always asking questions. And then the guys that stick to the old school ways of it are going to be behind. Like you said, like there is something cool about 1 rep maxes all the time and being like, I can lift this. Like, especially if you're not playing sports anymore, like we can all do that. And there is something to that, but like, because you know more about strength than I do, but like it is forever changing and it is different for each person. So the way you might lift is going to be different the way I go in there and do it because it's different. And there's some high schools up here in the suburbs. We know for a fact that some of these strength guys are getting teacher salaries to be a strength guy.
Yeah.
That's where it's going.
Right.
And it's huge, not just for football, but all across sports.
100%. That's how it should. That's honestly, all the southern states do that. They have a strength conditioning coach that does sports. It's different in the South, obviously. But if you wanted to give your kid, your student population, the best chance to succeed in whatever they're doing, that's something you got to do. So,
and there's some high schools, they have 4. They have 4 of them.
That's crazy.
And I can tell you who it is after we're done. That Joe went and visited, and he goes, Steve, they have 4. And I go, they do? He goes, yeah. And some have 2, some have 3. And I'm like, what?
Right.
Now they're teachers, and then they're doing that on the side. Then there's some that are full time. That's all they do. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Wow.
And if you guys can hear that, that's my chocolate lab barking at somebody. But it's okay. But yeah, that was one of my questions because I know you're a strength guy, and I'm like, I wonder if that's the new craze now is like the strength stuff and speed and being fast, the RPR stuff. Like,
well, the RPR stuff's new, but like the feed the cat stuff, like if you have any background in strength and conditioning, that is not new whatsoever. That's been around for a long time. It's just been like people, old coaches who don't know or don't want to learn, don't understand that stuff, or don't have a degree in that, or didn't take those classes, whatever. But the feed the cat stuff has been like, if you go to any D1 college level, that's what they're doing along with the weight room stuff, right? But like, that's their speed and agility is, what that feed the cats kind of concept is. So,
or do you think it was just because it was a track concept first? It almost seemed like it was for track, and so they probably thought it's not for football.
Well, any speed stuff like that has been, like central nervous stuff, has been around for a long time. It's just never been promoted, or because you look in the strength world, like on a football strength staff, right now there's a lot, but in the past there was only one guy, that would run. Everybody else is a GA or something, right? So that knowledge really is hasn't been pushed anywhere. Now it has now in the last 10 years or so, but like the last 20 to 30 years, that stuff's been around. Like I've known about that since 2005, So,
well, you're a smarter guy than I am. Like all that stuff,
no.
I understand the basics. Like you could probably teach me basics, and I'm going to understand it. I walk in, our new strength guy helped out at Northwestern, so he's coming in, and I understand it now. The continued study of it, I'm like, I'm not going to. If you told me I'm going to get a job out of it, I will study it. I will understand. I'll know it like this. I understand the basics. I understand movement. I understand flexibility. But all that stuff, the way it keeps evolving, I'm like, you guys do that, and I'll worry about the run game. You do that, and I'll do the selfishness in me is like, you do that, and I'll do this. But I'll help out when needed. Like if you want to show me, I've got it. And it's not hard. It's weightlifting. It's whatever. And it's just a lot of learning the new speed stuff and understanding like this kid is not squatting well today because his body's not reacting the right way. So maybe he needs to do just the bar, or maybe he needs to go do this. Like that's the stuff I'm going to learn is, hey, they're sore, their body's not reacting right. So let's figure out something else, rather than the old school of like, nope, you're going to do it anyway.
Be tough. Yeah. Right.
Be tough. But that's just the new craze. And, it got big for me personally when Alabama started talking about it. Then all of a sudden it was, well, wait a minute, they're doing it. Or Indiana, because that strength staff from Indiana went to Alabama and just like shot it through the roof.
Yeah, but they've been doing that stuff since the early 2000s. And nobody's just because, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't, Facebook was just starting. There's no YouTube. There's no learning platform except unless you went to a clinic, and the only guys going to a strength clinic are strength guys.
Right. I feel like that helps you out with your lineman having that strength background big time.
Yeah. For me, it's the biomechanics background, just because I can see, I could see something wrong in a second and fix it pretty quickly. So that I do feel like it helps a lot. And then I can coach the individual. Like I changed a lot of the stances from our guys, just because, from a mechanical standpoint, like it's just, you say the 3-point stance is always going to make everybody lower, right? Just the old school mentality. Well, not really, because if their hips, you can't fix natural, like limb length and stuff like that. So if their hips don't align perfectly in their 3-point stance, they're going to pop straight up. There's nothing you can do to fix that. I don't care how much shooting work you do, how much squatting you do. So your stance has to be appropriate to kind of fit that person, so I do a lot of that kind of stuff as far as, making that stance appropriate for the person to be able to fire out, not up. So
that's one thing I'm fighting with myself is I'm a big 3-point stance guy, because in the old school in me back here is like 3-point stance.
Yeah.
But I'm also accepting all summer we're going to teach them 3-point stance. And then once we get into August, if it's just like, you know what, that looks awkward, they're not doing this, maybe I have to do a 2-point stance when we get into August and see how that works. But I've had bad experiences before where you guys can do 2-point stances, and then as the game goes on, how it is, they're just standing up.
Yeah, see, they've got to be a disciplined kid, right? That's where it gets tough for sure. If they, if there's 2-point stance changes every other play, then that's a problem. But that's where at my level, it's different, right? I can't do some of the things I do right now that I didn't, at West Chicago. There's no way I'd be able to do them at West Chicago, so.
Right. And you get to have more meetings and all that stuff
Correct.
to work on that. And you know how it is. Like tomorrow, I'll have them come in at 8:30 in the morning, talk to them for 20 minutes, and that's it. Like I have to steal time somewhere. Like practice that time, but get there at 8:30. I'll talk to you for 20 minutes, and we go outside.
Yep.
And they gotta have a notebook, a piece of paper, and write it down. And then they get mad at you when I say, "I'll be on huddle later." Well, why did we write it down for? Well, because I made you.
And then they forget their email or their password to their huddle, and then they don't watch huddle for whole summer. I know it.
Oh yes. Coming in on that Saturday or that Monday. Hey, anybody watch the huddle notes I put up there? And then they get their phone out right then and there. Well, hold on. And I'm like, we can see when you guys, how long you've been on there. Without giving everything away, you still going to be a spread team up there? You're not going wing T on me, are you? You're going to be.
No, we're a pro team actually.
Okay.
Up here, so we do a lot of tight end fullback sets or tight end sets. A lot of 11, 12, 21, 20. A lot of different looks. Mid zone power game. So nothing fancy. We have big linemen. That's kind of what we hang our hat on is the run game. So if I don't do a good job with that, I'll be out of here.
Now you'll be fine. You'll be totally fine.
I'm not.
You're fine.
That's right.
I mean, only certain people can be let go after 1 year. You have to try. You have to try
That's
to be
true.
That's another thing I'm learning is mid zone and inside zone are two different things. And I'm like, why are they different? And I've had to learn that because I'm stupid. So when I learned that, I'm like, what do you mean they're different? Like to me, mid zone is like almost triple option stuff. And they're like, yeah, kind of like.
Yeah, you can look at it like that.
That's what I'm doing this year is our inside zone is more. I'm not calling it that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking, we're aiming for the center. That's how bad it was last year. Our guys would, because you know how it is. You aim for the guard or inside leg of the guard. Well, they started to go this way.
Yeah, can't have an imagination. Yeah.
Yes, the moment they see it's blocked up, they try to go this way. And I'm like, well, what if it's blocked up? Well, that means the A gap or something's probably open here. And so I had to change it. So I'm telling the running backs, you're aiming for the center. I really don't care. And again, I'm overcompensating. So my hope is they aim for the center and we'll get where we're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's why if we do it right and people watch it, they might say, hey, they're running mid zone because of how it looks. It's straight on like dive principles.
Right. Yeah. The reason I like mid zone is because it can hit like outside zone or it can hit like inside zone. And I don't like teaching two different, although they're the same play, sort of. Inside zone's a lot more vertical, and you have to have some really good double teams to get a vertical push. There's no lateral movement by the linebackers. Outside zone, you have to have a really good running back to be able to press that edge and cut when he needs to. Mid zone, you can kind of get away with, having a mediocre running back. Just put a foot in the ground and get vertical and get some yards. So that's why I like it. It's a lot easier for me to teach, and it can hit both ways. It hit outside, it could hit backside too. So,
yeah, for me, and I probably sound stupid. And part of it's kind of like ISO to me because ISO we're double teaming everywhere, and it could hit where that insert guy's going, or it might hit the A gap, it might hit tight, it might hit the B gap, it might hit here. We don't know. We have no idea. Yeah. So that's kind of where those principles come from, and like zone insert, kind of the same thing for us. Like inserting that wing or the H back. We'll do all that. I'm not giving everything away. We did it last year. So, but like, it's fine. But yeah, if you watch it, you're going to say like, actually it looks like dive more than anything. It looks more like we're just not hitting the end. We're reading him and doing other things.
Right. Well, one of the problems is everybody had this big, I don't know, it's like last year, 2 years ago, everybody had this big thing about, is it inside zone or is it duo?
That was me. That was me.
Yeah. What's the difference? It's the same play if you want to hit it vertical like that. So it's, what zone is supposed to be a lateral moving play so you can catch the defenders moving. Right.
Right.
If you wanted to run a vertical, just run duo, just run ISO, just run, gap. So
someone told me, I don't think it was you, but somebody said, oh, duo is instead of them going towards the back or they're going to the opposite. Like, if you've got a 5-1-3-5, the two guys blocking the one are going left.
Yeah, we talked about that.
It
Yeah,
might have been you, I think. I don't remember. My memory is just, I don't remember
you
driving
probably talked to a
practice.
lot of people. Yeah,
Well, that or I don't even remember driving to school. Like this morning, you're just driving. You get there and you're like, I don't remember the drive here. I don't remember what I was doing.
yeah, I've had those.
Uh, they make fun of me for my hair. So I'm like, it's because it's falling out. I'm losing my memory. And I was that guy that said that as an inside center or duo, but I did it to piss people off. I was stirring the pot a little bit. Like, is it really like, I really don't
Oh
care.
yeah,
I really don't care.
no, yeah, I don't either.
And then people are telling me hey, duo is power without the polar, which I said, okay, that can make sense. Or just run tackle wrap with it. It looks like that. Pull the tackle around. It looks exactly the same.
Right.
We might dabble in that too. There's things we're dabbling with. But that scares me because you need athletic tackles. It scares me to death.
Some guys who can move. Yeah.
But see, that's an inexpensive play where you try it. If you don't like it, get rid of it because you have your base plays already. You know, like if you're an inside zone, wide zone power team, and then you add this and it doesn't work, you just toss it.
Right.
And another thing I'm changing is I'm not doing skip pulls anymore on power. I'm going to do the old sickle, shuffle in and go.
You're going to shuffle, or are you open pull?
Just shuffle.
Yeah. Like the A-gap power stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's, I don't know. So we don't hit it so tight like that. And, you know, we play a lot of these, they call them 40 ace defenses. So those DNs are dual reading our tackles. So they pinch so hard and collapse the gap. So it's tough sometimes because we'll always log that. You know, so that's where I've got to kind of be like, I don't know if the shuffle gets enough depth. I've never done it. So I don't know.
Neither have I. I've always been a skip pull person. And then what started to happen was maybe I shouldn't have given up on it so quickly, but before I got there, they would just open and pull, square. Yeah. And I don't like that because of my stupid kinesiology mind of it. When you open like that and then you're trying to get back up, now you got to plant and waste energy going this way instead of staying square, seeing where you're going and immediately planting the foot and go.
Right.
So they would start to revert back when they got tired or when they didn't remember where they were supposed to go for some reason. They would just revert back to, I'm going to open up.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't do a full skip pull. So their momentum wasn't going that way. And we were hitting a gap anyway, because that's where they were going and all that stuff. So then this off season, I started to see more of the shuffle. And so I started to ask people like, why do you do this? What helps? Some gave me different answers. They said it helps the O-line see better because they have to stay square. It helps if a defensive lineman comes flying up because they'll hit them. And that's why it hits a gap because it almost becomes a double team sometimes. And then sometimes they actually might hit the end. Like you said, if the tackle can get off and that guy comes in, they hit the end and he runs right behind. And hopefully that tackle will get in the way of the linebacker. So, I mean, you could hit the same thing with the skip pull, but they just said that's kind of what they liked. And I said, okay, whatever helps my guy stay square, I'm all for. So I haven't tried it yet because we're really focusing on zone right now. But when I get to it, I'm going to see how it looks. Because I'm also doing the scooch. And I'm like, I'm really trying that this year. Probably not going to work, knowing me, but I'm going to try. I've been trying it because how do we get to that guy quickly that's far away for a double team? Not for wide zone, but just for inside zone. If you're the backside tackle and there's a guy head up the guard and he wants help, how do you get there quickly to close the gap? Well, and then to teach them, I said it's half of a skip pull, guys. So that's how I was able to teach it and like run. If we're not going to be big, we're going to run and we're going to run them off the ball. So
instead of taking a bucket, you're saying, or open, whatever, you kind of half skip pull that double team or whatever.
Yeah, like foot quickly plants into your crotch and go. Like it's just trying to get that going and not taking that full back.
Right.
I tried to do it last year. Coach Rudolph, the O-line coach at Ohio University, I talked to him last year and he's like, yeah, we're doing that. But when I talked to him, it was like the end of July. And I said, this is interesting. I kind of want to do it. And he said, don't. And I said, why? He said, why? And he goes, because you need all summer to work on it. If you try to do it in your season, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So my dumbass in a week's time said, nope, I want to try it. Tried it. And they either wouldn't do it or they they skip pulled into it. And I'm like,
Right. Right.
now we've lost even more ground and we're trying to get it.
Yeah.
So I made sure this summer, the first thing I'm doing is they never load step before in their life. I had to teach them to load step and scooch.
Mm,
Like, again, they never had like a true O-line coach.
yeah.
Our head
That
coach,
makes it tough.
our head coach did it, but he's a defensive guy. He played linebacker. So he told me what he would do with them. And I'm like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Like a true guy. I played O-line, I coached it. We're going to do it. So sorry for ranting, but those are just things I'm working on because sometimes I say, and some guys go, like I talked to the O-line coach at South Dakota, University of South Dakota. I said something about scooch.
Mhm.
He goes, we do that. And I was like, well, hold on, let me take notes. Like, what like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I never heard of that before. I never did that before until Rudolph at Ohio told me about it.
Right. Yeah. I've seen it a little bit. I've never dabbled. I like running, so I teach. I heard, Frentz speak a long time ago about O-line run blocking, and he was just talking how dumb he is, and I'm right up there with him. So, just trying to teach the guys how to run off the run block and take your first two steps, and then Kurt Anderson, just try to make it rhythmic, all that kind of stuff. So, at some point for me, I'm not smart enough to do some of these things. So I just really work on running off the ball and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, some of the stuff I'm using for even like I'll use them for all multiple. So like if I'll write like inside zone, we're only using this technique or this technique, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
and then like wide zone, you're just going to turn your hips and run. Like, so this is the only technique you need to know. Power, we can steal reps on like how you double team or down block. We can steal reps somewhere learning that, So some of these guys that are like, hey, for inside zone, you've got these 5 different techniques you can use. I'm like, no, we're going to do these 2 because I'm not smart enough to do that and to teach it every day. And but my biggest fear, the reason why I went to scooch was because, like you said, old school, not even old school, it's just running off the ball. My biggest fear, and I'm overcompensating, is protecting the gap. Like we would churn so hard and they would shoot in and just go. If it's power, cool. Like we're just going to take them on an inside zone or something, that's going to kill it. And I don't want that to happen. So how can I keep them square and go? And I had last year I had 2 athletic guards. So I was like, this should work. Like they should be able to do that, and I'd like to think my reasoning fit why I was doing it. But what was cool was this year, at least when we came into the summer, I said, we're gonna learn how to scooch. And some of them remembered. They're like, oh yeah, I remember this. And they just did it. So I was like, okay, hopefully.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that helps.
But then they were just kind of like, when do we use it? And so I broke it in half and I said, this is what we're going to do. I even gone old school and had to get their shoulder into them and run. Like I have to go old school on this inside zone. And I hate it. I love using the hand inside. I love that, when I walked on at college. Now I have to really like get underneath guys and flipper and do the old school like blocking.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I feel like it goes against everything I want to do.
You talking about like the Crowther kind of deal?
Yes. Yeah. Even on inside zone double team, I have to.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And some do it that way, but for me, I was like, I really want to focus on hand placement, like one hand, and then when to get the second hand in. But if we're doing that, I have the mentality this year, if we get 3 yards, I'm a happy guy. If we get 3 yards on this run play, I am the happiest guy on the sideline.
I'm with you.
And if they go, what if we get 2? I'm like, I'm still happy because we're moving forward. If you get to the line of scrimmage or negative, then the headset might come off and I might stand there and look and be like, why? Like what just happened?
Yeah.
And if I hear a fan in the stands yell, just block somebody, I would throw the headset to them and say, you do it.
Yeah.
Coach, I've taken over an hour. I wanted to make sure I only had you for like an hour.
No, I appreciate it.
Anything else you want to ask me? It was your podcast for half of it.
No, man. Good luck this season and keep on keeping on.
Hey, I'll try. I hope you guys win all your games. I'll have to send Hawkins a message and be like, hey, I'm coming for you.
That's right. We lost, I wasn't part of the staff. Watkins actually was last year at St. Thomas when we lost to him at a field. I think it was a field goal block and their tight end recovered it into the end zone. So they ended up winning like 12-9 or something like that on like a fluke kind of deal. They were going to tie it, and then they ended up, winning that way. So hopefully it's a competitive game, and we get after. We're playing up there, so.
Was that the school you're at now, or was that at Concordia?
No, so Michigan Tech, yeah, played St.
Okay.
Thomas last year. Yeah.
And because you just got there in the spring, right?
Yeah, February. Yeah.
I guess I never asked if you're liking it. I assume you are. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a UP guy, and although I'm from Illinois, and I just went to school in the UP, and my wife and I love it up here. So it's a lot slower life, and really good school district for my daughter. So.
Well, that was the big difference from Central Illinois to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
How much busier it is up here.
Oh yeah.
I'm from 1-lane roads, 2-lane roads,
Yeah.
and then up here, I have to take 88 to 355 every day. I'm like,
yep. Yeah, my commute to my house is 5 minutes. I'm not used to that. Used to be an hour, then it was 35 minutes when I was at Concordia. So.
Oh yeah, because that's way in the city, isn't it? That's.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I've been there before. I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's in River Forest, so it's like maybe 10, 15 minutes from like downtown. So it's right outside the kind of outskirts.
I think we drove by. We had to play Proviso East at a community college by Elmwood Park somewhere.
Yep, right there.
I can't remember the community college. It used to have football, but now it doesn't.
Trinity or Triton?
Yeah. We had to play Proviso East there.
Yeah.
Because Proviso East, this would be the last thing. Have you seen their new stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Our track coach they had to go there for a track meet. He said, Steve, their locker rooms are college level.
Oh, yeah. It's nice. I know. Hopefully they can do something.
Baseball wise, they didn't have a freshman baseball team again.
Oof.
Proviso West didn't either. They didn't have that. They only had varsity, and their varsity team had 9 kids or 10 kids.
Oh, geez.
Baseball. Like, they're trying.
Hopefully the facilities bring some kids out.
Hopefully Proviso East. Proviso West is probably next in getting turf.
Mm-hmm.
But Proviso East got new bleachers, the new track, their jumbo board.
Wow.
It's cool. I don't think we're going there this year, but like, it's cool. It's really awesome. Like you said, hopefully that now they can play at night because they have the lights and everything. Like,
yeah,
they can start playing at night. Pretty cool. That was my little tangent. I couldn't remember where Concordia was, but I was like, I think Joe told us when we were driving to Trinity, like where he was telling us where restaurants were. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah.
He obviously knows where the restaurants are.
Well, I was like, thank you. We were like the dynamic duo, the O-line coach and the D-line coach. Like we were the duo. And I have to coach D-line this year too. So I have to do both. So I told him, I was like, it's not Coach D anymore. I have to do both. And the kids go, I will kid you not. The kids went, oh shit. When they said to do both. But Coach, thanks for coming back on. I hope
thank you.
Hope you guys win every game. Hopefully somebody gets something out of it. We talked a lot about strength stuff. Hopefully somebody gets something out of it. I did. I got some stuff out of it. So
appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Go check out Coach's Twitter. Go check out their school. I'll be trying to pay attention to what you guys do this year. I try to pay attention to every coach I've ever talked to. I have something on my phone that tells me how you guys are doing. So I probably have like 100 teams on here somewhere. But yeah, thank you for coming back on. Thanks, guys, for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.